morning and welcome to our Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. This is a support intended especially for solopreneurs. And this morning we're going to talk about shiny objects and staying where your audience is. So generally what we've been doing recently is introducing the panel members. So I shall get busy and do that. So I'm just going to go down alphabetically. So we have David with us, David Flannery. He's in Illinois and he creates affordable websites. And we have Nathan Siegel, who is in Mexico, and he guides writers through the creation of a book. And we have Vivek Rao, who is in the UK, and he simplifies life and business by unifying different technologies and developing software. And I see we have Javita has joined us, and she's in Mumbai, India, and she teaches and promotes yoga and Reiki, both in person and online. And I thought I saw Paul Murray there, but he may have had some problems or something. But I'll introduce him just in case he comes back. He's also in BC, where I am. And he helps startups turn ideas into profitable action. And finally, I'm Lowell Ann Fuglsang, and I'm in British Columbia, Victoria, British Columbia. And I coach retirees who want to start an online business. So good morning, everyone. Nice to have you all here. And this morning we were going to talk about shiny objects. So one of the questions that I had in my mind to get us started was what new shiny objects have you encountered recently? I know that I just encountered a couple of things which I might share later, but I'm wondering about the rest of the participants here. And what happens to us when we encounter these shiny objects? Do we suddenly want to leap over there and do it, or what? How do we react? So anybody want to begin? Okay, David.
Well, I encountered one last night, and it was free, so it's a time investment, and it's called Pinterest.
Oh yes.
And learning how to use it for my business. Mm-hmm. Now, I was advised by Jay to do this, so I'm getting it from a good source that maybe this shiny object is more than just shine; it might be gold.
Well,
as we all hope our shiny objects turn into,
Yes. So Pinterest is really suited to people who are marketing, especially visual things. So as I was sort of working in my own mind about what are shiny objects, one of the things that I wrote down was a new social media platform. So that would be one thing. Any other items that come to mind as you work your way through shiny objects? Anyone? What about new plugins? I got exposed to a new plugin called Wishlist.
A Wishlist has actually been around for a long time.
Oh, I know, but it's new to me.
So. And it's if you're running a membership site.
Yeah.
Now, for example, Optimized Press comes with a plugin for doing processing of memberships, but Wishlist, I've used it. It's way better, way easier to use, better to configure, and so on. But it has been around for a number of
Yeah.
years now, and
Yeah.
I definitely recommend it. At least from what I can remember, it was a really excellent plugin to. Sorry, I'm just making a quick note here. But yeah, Wishlist, it was very easy to use. It
Yeah.
was something I really liked, and
Well,
highly
and it
recommend
has
it.
come up in AppSumo. You can get a lifetime
Okay, cool.
purchase for a reduced course. So, new plugins for sure, and I have been burned a number of times by leaping into new plugins, etc. And one of the things that I've noticed of late, because I went with the Elementor plugin. When you look at all of the things that you can do with Elementor, it removes, if you're using that one, it removes the need for a whole bunch of other plugins. So, I mean, that's becomes an issue that we think about. You know, is it a shiny new object, or is it something that's really going to improve on something that we're doing, going to make it more efficient or whatever? So, but in the process of trying to discover which it is, we can get burned, as I did recently with LearnDash. So, so then there are new plugins, and then there are new courses that are coming about, and you know, I'm noticing that the latest kind of online trend there seems to be is creating courses. That seems to be what everybody's moving into, creating new courses. And so I stumbled on one last evening from a chap that I've been following for a long time. His name is Jamie. Canadian chap, I think Edmonton, I'm not certain about that, but he goes by Teachers Tech. And so last evening he was promoting two courses that he's planning on doing. One of them is called Teach with Video, and the other one is called Harnessing YouTube. And I looked at both of those and thought to myself, well, boy, oh boy, I have sure learned a lot from Teachers Tech in the past. So then the question is, you know, do I need this, or is this going to improve my life, or whatever? But I thought I would share it because I was aware that there were a few of us that maybe are not using YouTube, and this chap is really very knowledgeable about making use of YouTube. So I heard the bell ring. I don't know who just came in. I guess that's Paul coming back in. So it looks as though he's having a little bit of trouble there. So that was something that was certainly a shiny new object, no question. So, and the other one was, I thought, you know, there are lots of new books that are becoming available, and we keep getting exposed to you know, this new book that's got all these wonderful ideas or new approaches or whatever. And so I think I just downloaded a new book just within the last day or two. So I have, rather than having a bookshelf filled with books waiting to be read. I have my Kindle program filled with books waiting to be read. What about anybody else? I mean, these are some of the things that I've come in contact with, but
How about a wish list of shiny objects?
a wish list of shiny.
Yeah, I'm wanting a drone in the worst way,
Aha.
but I know that's a shiny new object. I want to be able to take real estate pictures with it, but
Oh.
it will help my real estate business. But as far as profiting from it, it would be just taking my pictures. I don't plan on doing it for other people as a business
Ah.
because it'd take way too much time, and time is valuable. So it would allow me to do videos inside and out a lot better because
Here's an idea for you. Why don't you find somebody to delegate it to, and either pay that person or set up some sort of an agreement that if they help you with getting new customers, you would pay them a fee for doing so.
That's one idea. The other idea I have is I've got a couple of home inspectors that have drones that they're not using very often because they're not licensed. And getting my license and then having access to their, when they go and do a home inspection, I'd have to be there to help them fly it, and then when I need it, I'd be able to use it. But here again, that takes time away from what I'm doing in order for me to be available for their home inspections.
Right on.
So for flying a drone, you need a license?
Yes, you do. If you're doing it commercially, if you're using the video or the pictures commercially, you have to
Okay.
you have to have a license because and it's supposed to be an airline pilot.
Wow.
Your test is you don't have to demonstrate on how to fly it. You have to demonstrate knowing like the weather code that they use for different things. They put a code out that tells you whether it's cloudy, wind, how much wind is up there, sunny or whatever, and you have to be able to read that code like the pilots do.
Oh. So I have a question for everyone. So I mean, we're talking about all these new things. I mean, that drone is a good example. But so what's the difference? Where's the line between staying on top of new trends, which as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs we need to do, and then getting caught up in something that is not going to be that's not going to be useful? Where's that line? How do we make that decision? So I might ask Javita, because I'm very much aware. Javita and I have been sort of texting back and forth about a new product for creating courses. So given my fiasco with LearnDash, I'm really kind of reluctant. And so, I mean, I look at this and think, well, how do I make that decision? So what about you, Javita? I know you tried it out. You did a trial first, or how did you proceed?
The software or the platform, its name is Heights.
Yeah.
And it allows you to make your own online courses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to teach something online, this is the platform.
Right.
And I like Heights and I bought also because it's a lifetime deal on AppSumo. As we all know, AppSumo offers platforms or softwares at very discounted rates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and from many days, I was looking for a
Mm-hmm.
way to create my own courses. So when I go through Heights, I like it because it's very easy to create your courses.
Mm-hmm.
You can add videos, you can add audios also, and it I think and it allows you monthly 1,000 users,
Which is
students,
pleasant, plenty to to get started.
to get
So
started. Yeah.
so the decision, because I know when you and I first started talking about this, you did a test, and as you were trying to decide whether you were going to go that route or not. Hmm.
Yeah,
So.
because it offers you 30-day free trial.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's enough time to create your own course and to see whether it means it is useful to you or not.
Mm-hmm.
And most important thing, I like you can white label your courses. You can add your logo. You can add your color theme to your
Mm-hmm.
dashboard and courses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally brandable.
Mm-hmm. So, so that's interesting. So using going the free trial route is one way to kind of decide which way you want to go. Um, what about you, Vivek? I mean, what do you do when you stumble on a shiny new object?
Unfortunately, these days I hardly have enough time to get to know any shiny objects. But typically, I look at the reviews of the product,
Mm-hmm.
who has reviewed it, and I mean, what kind of reviews. And I kind of look at the ones which are more negative. Um, Look for the negative reviews so that and the thing has to be they should still be talking about the product, not about what they felt or
Mm-hmm.
something else.
Right.
But if the review is negative and still it is workable for you,
Mm-hmm.
then if the negative, I mean positive outweighs the negative, that's
Yeah.
good to go.
So trying and also covering reviews. So.
Yeah, I agree with him on reading the negative reviews. I try to read the negative reviews first, and determine if the problems it's having are legitimate. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
and number two, if there's something I can live with. Then I'll go to the positive reviews and see what people are
Mm-hmm.
saying, why they like it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's if there's reviews available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing, I tend to, money is my issue. If I have money, shiny objects come very easy. I find them very easily, and it don't take much to convince me. Unfortunately, when I'm broke, I'm really skeptical, and I don't buy anything new.
Okay. That's a good point. So
So
the price is another thing, and I know, David,
yes,
you and I have had this conversation before, where we both tend to not want to sign up for things that have a monthly charge. That it's you know, and that's why this AppSumo is really great, because you can usually get a lifetime
membership.
membership or subscription
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever, and that way you know you're avoiding that that long, you know, If you get into a lot of things that require a monthly charge or even an annual charge, it becomes awkward. Yeah.
Mm.
It becomes difficult, and especially if the product quits working if you don't pay that month or that annual fee. The annual fee is the one that really gripes me, is because what ends up happening is either it automatically charges by
Mm.
itself because you got automatic renewal somewhere hidden in the
Yeah.
the thing. It's there, but you don't see it readily, or your product quits working. You
Mm-hmm.
go to you go to a website you've been working with for all year long, and all of a sudden you forgot that you bought the pro version of the builder, and so now all the features that you're used to using are gone, and you know different times, different in my life, money's tight, so now I gotta either fork up another $200 or whatever
Mm-hmm.
and um, pay that fee or live without it. And so I try to avoid those yearly fees as much as I possibly can. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like them.
Yeah. So,
The most of the companies are nowadays, they all seem to be going towards this subscription model rather than lifetime pay once. And
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
um, one of the reasons is because, I mean, we're mostly talking about some sort of software or a software feature or something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
because everything else keeps on changing and developing, adding new features, and so another software which um, probably needs to be updated. So when they have to update it every time, they find that their costs are higher.
Yeah.
So they want to make the buyers or the subscribers pay for it
Mm-hmm.
in some way, rather than they have already bought it, so they have to be supported.
Yeah.
They see this support as a negative thing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so looking at all of these things we talked about, platforms and plugins and courses and books and software, etc. So there are all kinds of shiny new objects on that level. But let's talk about platforms for a moment, because we've all kind of gone through the shifting of platforms. Google Plus, and what was the other one that Nathan? That was the one that you really enjoyed. That was
No, that was Blab, and was shut
Blab.
down by it was
Yeah,
shut down by the founders. And
yeah,
yeah, that was, in many ways, that was a huge tragedy for a lot of us who really
yeah,
liked it.
yeah,
But the founders were very short-sighted. And when it came to dealing with the issues, they essentially blamed the entire community, wouldn't listen to anybody.
yeah.
And it was just one of the strangest things I'd ever seen. I mean, I don't know. I still don't understand it to this
Well,
day.
and a lot of us are saying the same thing about Google Plus. I mean, for those of us that were using it, it worked like a hot damn. you
Hmm.
know.
Not
But
anymore, obviously.
well,
But
no,
no,
Well,
yeah,
it works for Google
it's
Plus. It works for G Suite people, but you know, it's
it's
still
yeah,
no,
but it
no, even G Suite, it's not really useful.
no.
well, it's not useful, but it's still there.
uh,
It's still there, but what for? I don't
well,
know.
Blab,
Now
Nobody's
you,
period.
nobody's using it. Yeah,
Well, before you had a huge audience. Now you narrowed your audience down to just a
yeah,
G Suite audience,
yeah.
and people don't find that valuable.
Yeah.
mm,
So
Yeah.
then if we're thinking about platforms and where we participate, etc. I mean, a lot of us really avoided Facebook for a long time,
Hmm.
but and I know for myself, I avoided it for a long time and just used it to stay in touch with friends, etc. But now we're in a position where we know that, or I know that, my target audience is probably most of them on Facebook.
Yeah.
So then this whole this whole idea of going and staying where your audience is. Now the other platform that seems to be it seems to have a fair amount of traffic and activity is LinkedIn. And that's another platform, and they, it requires managing and communicating and engaging. But I'm just remembering, for example, when Google Plus kind of folded up, a lot of people went to Discord. My friend Andrew, for example, and a lot of the people that we all knew in Google Plus moved over to Discord. And I, myself included, I post a lot of things over there, but I find nobody seems to even know about Discord. And it's a lovely site, really easy to manage, etc., etc. But nobody goes there. And the other one that is a real up and comer is Twitch. And
I've
Discord.
never used either. There's only so many hours in the day, and
Yeah.
and I mean, looking at where I am right now and what I want to do, I've had to get really, really specific on how do I want to spend my time? What do I want to spend it on?
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm really tired of all the technology that's been coming out, which is actually, for me, kind of a good thing, because I used to have my finger on the pulse because I was writing for so many magazines, but I'm not doing that now. And it's a huge relief, because I got really sick of chasing what one of my colleagues referred to as the bleeding edge.
Oh. Or the shiny, it's shiny new objects again. I mean, this is, it's all part of the same thing, isn't it?
Well, writing about tech, I just got bored. It's like, enough. One of the things that really irritated me a lot about tech, still does, but fortunately I haven't been affected by it as much as I had been, is the, I don't know what you would call it, but it had to do with the cycle of how long the product would be out before they would update it yet again. And I got so sick of that. Because like with some products, you could barely start getting productive with it, and then they upgrade it again and they expect you to buy it. Yeah. It's like, are you crazy? Which is why a lot of people that I know, with some of the, or knew at least, they simply opted out of that, and they just stopped doing it. And even though there was the shiny new objects, as you were talking about, it was just too expensive and time consuming to try and, I mean, the upgrade wasn't so expensive, but the learning curve was expensive.
That's it.
And it's just like, enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. I mean, this is why, when you look out there, why there are so many people still probably on Windows XP and Windows 7, because they're sick of the upgrades and being forced to learn new stuff that they don't want to learn.
Right.
And there's not a good enough compelling reason for it. And this was a problem I faced.
Windows thing is it's there was something on my phone this morning that showed that the very last Windows update that they sent out caused a problem for a whole lot of people. And so despite the fact that they announced that after what was it, January the 14th, that no more, they're going to have to put one out to correct the problem they created for people.
Yeah. Well, it's like several years ago, and I have this stuff in storage somewhere in Victoria. I'll get to it eventually, but it was a little button, one of those buttons that you put on your jacket, and it said, "Welcome to hell. Here's your copy of Windows."
Yeah. Well, and here, I mean, again, talking about platforms and so forth, I watched Gary Vaynerchuk
Oh, yeah.
somewhere along the way, and
Funny the way that you'd pronounce that.
he was why is that is am I
It's
not
it's
saying it right?
his Vaynerchuk.
Oh, Vaynerchuk.
But you said Vaynerchuk, which made me laugh because I
Well,
can't help it. My mind went sideways a bit.
well, and of course, what he was saying was the latest thing is TikTok. And
Yeah.
businesses ought to get out there and make
Oh,
sure
no.
that they're on the ground floor, etc. Well,
Oh,
and
no.
then we have the experience of Instagram. I mean, when Instagram came out, I went there because I liked it.
Yep.
It was fun to share interesting things. It was interesting to see what other people. When you go on Instagram now, it's one ad after another. I
Hmm.
don't go there anymore. So,
Yeah. Well, the marketers have killed it.
yes,
Ah.
yeah, no kidding.
Well,
Well,
the greed has killed it from Instagram. They're wanting all these ads, and they've they've made it so that it, it's the same way with Facebook. They've made Facebook that way, where you either join a group or you create your own group to be able to get away from all that stuff. Now you're managing a group as opposed to just managing your Facebook account, and you can put in like the Flannery family and just group everybody from
Yeah.
there, and then have all the information about what's going on with our family and get rid of these stupid ads. But it's just
Well,
it's
yeah.
it's
The news feed can be pretty onerous, and
oh
if
god.
I didn't need Facebook at all, I would quit. Actually,
And
because there is a good reason why. I mean, I've been thinking about my life before a lot of this stuff showed up, and I realized that in many ways I was a happier person. Um, the other thing I've realized is social media is not all that social. Um, it plays at it, but it really isn't. It's not a substitute for real interaction. Um, there have just been other things to it, and I've also noticed that it's really easy to manipulate people on Facebook. Like there's this one post about tipping in Mexico, and I deliberately stirred the pot just to see what would happen, and it happened exactly as I knew it would. It was just the same old crap, and after a while, you can see the trends and the patterns. That's what Cambridge Analytica did. If any of you watched that movie about the hacking, I mean, um, the it was astonishing how we were manipulated by this outfit, and the dirty tricks that they pulled. It was just amazing that nobody seems to be in prison from that. But I'm just seeing a lot of stuff out there, and it's not. It's pretty nasty. And the other thing that's happened is I've been subjected to Facebook mobbing at one point, and it was a horrible experience. All these people screaming at me because, and actually the reason that it happened is a marketer that I knew took a personal and private post and turned it into a blog post without my permission.
Oh,
And then I had all these people screaming at me and threatening me on social media because of this guy.
oh, wow.
So yeah, if I'm a bit leery of it, that's why.
Well, when I look at all of these platforms, I mean,
Mhm.
Nathan, you put your finger on it.
Which
Um,
one?
well, the whole thing about engagement, which is,
Yeah, engagement. Yes.
I mean, which is why I've been doing this success circle. We are in our 5th year of doing
Yeah.
this success circle. And it's because I keep it up because it's the engagement that's important.
Of course.
And I find
Yes.
so many people who, um, you know, they just go run from one thing to another, plaster the world with a whole lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and it's the engagement is not there.
Yeah.
No, I do have to say that my forays into Twitch, which have not been recent, but a bit back, I
Hmm.
did find that there was some engagement there when somebody was presenting something. People were in there engaging with each other and engaging with the presenter, etc.
Hmm.
But in that case, it was strictly through texting on the side, and there is a little bit of that. I find, I mean, there's a bit of that on YouTube as well.
Hmm.
But I don't know of very many people that are doing what we're doing here
No.
and
Well, I mean,
engaging and sharing what we know, and supporting one another and helping each other decide on things and do things.
yeah.
This is true engagement.
Yeah.
So
I do know of it out there. I do know of people doing it, and I've been invited to like create certain things, but it was just too much front end work in one
mhm,
case where they wanted me to do it. It
right.
would have been similar to what Frank Kern is doing. It is essentially a high level mastermind,
Oh yeah, yeah,
where instead of meeting like this, we're meeting in somebody's home
right.
and doing stuff that way.
That's how I
Um,
started.
yeah.
I had a mastermind that was meeting around my dining room table.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I did that for a while with my Spanish group.
Yeah.
It just because I was searching for a place for the group to land, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately we wound
Yeah.
up in Serious Coffee in Cook Street Village. But for a while we were meeting in my place, but I realized it was too much work, and partly because I made a mistake. I look back on it now and I'm like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I mean, what I was doing is having cookies for everybody every week, but I
Mm-hmm.
was doing all the work of doing it myself. And I look back and go, oh, Doomkopf, I should have gone to Costco or and just bought the stuff, and
Yeah.
just had a good supply in the freezer and just,
Yeah.
unfreeze it whenever I have an event. It was just like, but it's, and this is where I'm getting back to what I was saying earlier about having to change the way I view my life, because I had a huge realization about 6 weeks ago to do with what I've been doing. And I realized that I made a fundamental mistake that I did not even realize until I was on that bus. And what it was is the belief that I had to create everything and sell everything and be all things to all people. And what I realized is if I cut virtually all those steps out except for one, then I could, you see, I thought I made the mistake of all these ideas that I was doing and think I needed to turn them into a career, such as photography, special effects work, all these tutorials, blah blah blah. What I realized, no, no, no. If I just became something they call a closer, which is what I'm working on very intensely right now, and help people who already have what I'm looking for, the products and services that I already want, and I work with them to help them sell it by way of getting leads from them,
Mm-hmm.
then several things happen. Number one, I free up a lot of time.
Right.
Number two, I make my life a lot simpler. Number three, I can earn a lot more money. And number four, all those things that I really want to do, those interests that I've got, become hobbies. And I can do them at my leisure, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about
Right.
production. Don't have to worry about creating all this stuff and marketing the crap out of it. I can just focus in one
Mm-hmm.
area. And that was the
So
realization I had.
yeah. So that's a good point too. When we're looking at all these things, are do we need to take on more, or does it make more sense to delegate it to somebody else, pay
it's
somebody
it's
else to
just
do it?
it's
Yeah.
just a choice, and
Yeah.
And I was on a call last night with one of my colleagues talking about this because he was telling me about a problem he ran into, which is something he has run into again. And I was explaining to him the way that he could become more effective is to become like Tony Robbins, where you have certain very specific skill sets that you choose to offer. But instead of doing one-on-one coaching, which is what you do, you develop your skills so that you could do it in front of 1,000 people. And in fact, make major change in the way that you really want to do, but you change your techniques so you can reach more people. Then the other thing too, and I hope I'm not digressing too much with all this stuff, but it has to do with the whole E-Myth idea, where a lot of us are these technicians in the trenches. And sooner or later, at some point, we have to allow ourselves to get kicked up the ladder into management, or what I'm doing, focusing on being a closer, because I just can't do this crap anymore. I don't have the patience.
Yeah.
I don't have the drive.
Well, and that goes back to something that we all need to not forget, and that is to be doing my motto: do what you love with passion.
Agreed. Agreed.
Right,
And if there's a way to shortcut it, like I said, if I had realized this 30 years ago, I would have just ditched all of this mentality, just become a closer for whatever it is that I really wanted to work on, and work part-time, like 4 hours a day or whatever, and then do what I really love doing as a hobby, because I can afford it without having to worry about, oh, I have to make a business out of it. Oh my God.
But Nathan, it's just it's what you're experiencing is just a life journey.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So I'm looking at the clock, and we've kind of run over.
Oops,
but I wanted
to.
Well, that's okay. I ran into something yesterday, and I didn't write the person's name down who made this quote. I watched a video, and but I wrote down what he said, and it just sure rang true for me, and it fits in with what we're doing, and a bit around what Nathan, you were saying. So he said that his life purpose, he thought it would make sense to have a purpose-driven life. So he said, help other people become better people. Help other people become better people. And part of that is to help them learn and grow. And then the second part was, how will I measure my own life? And I thought, wow. So
good question.
So that sort of helped me sort of write down and think, that means I need to find someone to help today. So that was, and I mean, that was, in a sort of a nutshell, covers, it doesn't matter which platform we choose to be on, if we use that notion of having a purpose-driven life and experience, then it should work. Shouldn't really matter what platform you use, as long as you follow that principle.
Yeah, it's actually what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Because what part of what happened had to do with looking back and looking at what's going on and realizing, the goal isn't big enough. Now, to do with the writing and helping people write books, it's not big enough. I want to work with something that exists that can reach millions of people.
Oh.
And to really, really make a big difference in this world.
Well, for me, it's help one person at a time.
Yeah, we each have our own way of doing that. One person at a time is fine. It's just that for what I'm involved in right now, I want to go a lot bigger with it, and I can see it, but I don't have the tools, and I don't want to try and build it again. Forget it. I know of other people who have exactly what I'm looking for, and my goal is to work with them to help them make their platform even bigger and to reach more people. But it's not about me reinventing the wheel anymore. I'm not going to do that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So before we close off, any other observations about shiny new objects and or platforms? David?
Yes, not always are shiny objects bad.
Yes.
Shiny objects can get you what you want and what you need, but it's you got to be careful and vet them very carefully, because you can end up, with problems or not getting what you want. So
Right.
that would be my comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Not all are bad. And I'm just thinking about what I just learned about Elementor, for example. I mean, it's going to shortcut a whole lot of things that will save time. So there you go. Well, thank you all. And before we close, again, I want to remind everybody it's important to do what you love with passion. And we shall see you next week. And I need to hit